Let us move on to the next topic. So, in the previous class, we covered a topic on method of sections that was in the fourth module, and we also understood how exactly method of section is helpful, is a quick method to find what is the unknown internal load in a member of a given truss. So that we have understood, and basically a quick note here is when we say method of sections or method of joints to analyze the unknown loads, the major point what we need to think is we are using the basic governing equations. So the resolving forces in the horizontal direction, in vertical direction, as well as the resolving for a movement will help us to get what is the unknown force in a given member or in a given joint or in a given truss that we can find. Now, very important thing is when we say method of joints, in a method of joints, what we have is we resolve at a joint or at a location where two members come in contact. Whereas in method of section, we create a section by considering a plane which divides a given structure into two halves, maybe on right hand side and left hand side, and using that particular section which is of our interest, we again apply the basic governing equation and find the unknown load. So today we will begin with our next module, that is module number 5. So as per the syllabus, unit 5, that is energy methods and columns. So this is the next chapter or next module in our syllabus, which is a final module which carries the equal weightage like any other module, 20 marks for your semester end exams. Now in this particular module there are different topics which we have already covered in our lab experiments. So the first one topic in this particular module is energy, strain energy due to axial loading, strain energy due to bending of a beam, then Castigliano theorem, then Maxwell's reciprocal theorem, unit load method for columns, then column with various end conditions. I hope if you could recall in the mechanics of material course in the previous semester, we had a discussion on columns, like how based on the end condition of a given column, maybe it is a fixed or a fixed hinged or a hinged or a fixed and a free. These four basic end conditions for a given column and how that affects the equation of buckling load or a crippling load. So that part we have already covered. Again, there will be a quick recap in this module as well related to column. Then Euler's column curve we will be studying, then Rankine's formula, then column with initial curvature and Southwell plot. Columns with initial curvature in the sense if the column has, before applying load, before designing a column, if the column initially has some curvature, then how that curvature affects the load carrying capacity of that column. So all these things we will study in detail in this particular module. So to begin with, today we'll initiate with the first topic, that is strain energy. So we'll go understanding this topic, strain energy, which is denoted by capital U. So strain energy is nothing but it is the energy stored in a given structure or energy stored in a given material when it is exposed to certain load which leads to stress in it, and because of that stress there will be strain going on, continuous deformation in that material. Now to have this particular process, continuously there has to be energy supplied to the structure or to the member, and continuously the energy has to be absorbed in the material to deform. Now, once the load is removed, whatever deformation has taken place, it has to revert and gain its original shape. Now, in doing this process, whatever energy stored in deforming and then once the load is removed, regaining its original shape by releasing the energy. This particular energy is nothing but strain energy. Please remember it is within its elastic limit. So when a load is applied within its elastic limit, it is going to deform to certain length or certain shape. Then once the load is removed, it is again going to regain its original shape as well as size. Now in doing this process, there is a continuous energy transformation. Now this energy is nothing but strain energy. And strain energy per unit volume is resilience, which is denoted by small u, which is nothing but strain energy per unit volume. Now how exactly we deduce strain energy? We consider a plot between load and deformation. Let us denote it to be delta L, that is deformation is going to take place along its length. Now in that case, there is going to be some behavior in the material when we apply a load and look for the deformation, and our focus is within its elastic limit. That's what we define the strain energy to be, not beyond elastic limit. So whatever happens after elasticity, it may get failed here, or it may get extended just like any ductile material. So that is not we are going to bother. So within elastic limit we are just considering. So when it is within elastic limit, then the area under this curve, which is a linear curve, area under this curve will give us strain energy, or which we are in our general ideas from thermodynamics and all, we consider strain energy is nothing but the total work done on that material to get that particular deformation by applying certain amount of load. So there is a work done on that material. So that will not be nothing but the area under this curve, which looks to be a triangle. So half times the width delta L times the height, that is P. This is how we define the strain energy. Now here I have considered delta L, which means consider a specimen of certain length and certain cross section area, maybe a cross section area A. Now when the load is applied in its axial direction, let the load be P. When there is a load applied in its axial direction, there is a tensile load, and that leads to tensile stress as well as strain, which means there is going to be change in its length due to the application of a load. Now when there is a change in length, then this equation holds good because we are defining the strain in terms of length. So this is going to be strain energy due to axial loading. So that is our next topic, strain energy due to axial loading. That is nothing but along the axis we are applying load. Okay. Now when we say strain energy, we have got an equation from the curve because we are defining the strain in terms of the change in length. So we got a curve or graph here, and the area under that curve will give us strain energy. Now we have also deduced an equation for change in length. If you could recall the mechanics of material subject, we have defined the change in length again within elastic limit for a linear elastic material. It is not non-elastic, it is elastic material, and within its elastic limit, so delta L, change in length, is defined to be PL times AE, where P stands for the load applied, tensile load, L nothing but the initial length, A is cross-sectional area, and capital E is nothing but Young's modulus, the property of a material. Now when we substitute this back into this equation, let us call this equation 1, this one equation 2, substituting equation 2 in equation 1, that is substituting equation 2 in 1, we get strain energy is equal to half times PL by AE times P. Now, which we can again rewrite as P square L by 2AE. Let us rewrite those equations or possible forms of strain energy equation due to axial loading. That is nothing but U is equal to P square L divided by 2AE. That is the strain energy, the same equation I am writing here. Now, if I multiply and divide by area, so that will be P square times L times A divided by 2A square E. Now, P by A, nothing but load by area, is going to be stress. So, I can rewrite to be stress square times length times area, that is nothing but volume divided by 2E, which is again another form of strain energy equation. This is one form. Okay. Now, if resilience has to be defined, which is nothing but strain energy per unit volume, it is going to be sigma square by 2E. Because resilience is strain energy per volume. So this is strain energy equation due to axial loading on a given structure. I hope this is clear, very simple. Now there can be a numerical like deduce the strain energy for a given structure having length, certain length x, certain cross sectional area, certain load and certain Young's modulus is given. Directly you can substitute in this equation or in this equation and get strain energy. And if resilience is asked, just divided by the volume will give you the resilience due to axial loading. Now let us try to solve one numerical here. That is reduce the strain energy of a material having length 2 meters, Young's modulus 70 GPa, then cross sectional area 1 meter square, that is the cross sectional area of a given material, and a load, that is axial load of 2 kilonewtons. Let us consider. And if strain energy is asked, then we can just use this equation, capital U is equal to P square L divided by 2 times AE. P is 2 kilonewtons. Please remember the units, it is in kilo. So it will be 4 kilo units or 4 kilonewtons, or let us convert this into newtons, that would be better. So 2000 square, let us keep everything in SI, length is 2 meters, 2 times cross sectional area 1, Young's modulus 70 GPa, that is 70 into 10 power 9. So if you resolve this further, you get certain value. So this is nothing but the strain energy, 4 into 10 power 6 divided by 70 into 10 power 9. So here the material, if you look at the Young's modulus 70 GPa, that is nothing but aluminum I am considering. And similarly, if resilience is asked, so it will be capital U divided by volume. Volume is nothing but area times length. Length is 2 meter, area is 1, so it is be 2 meter cube that we need to substitute or divide to this strain energy. So this is about strain energy due to axial loading. Now basically I have studied this strain energy due to axial loading in mechanics of material as well, but still it is included in this syllabus. So this is the strain energy due to axial loading. Now let us continue. The strain energy now from bending. Due to bending. So for that, let us consider a diagram or a beam which is simply supported. And I'm just considering a simple load acting on that. So it can be uniformly distributed, uniformly varying, or a point load, or a combination of this. But I'm considering a simpler one, a beam of having a length L supported by two ends here, A and B, and a load W is acting. Let us rewrite this, not W, let the load be P. A load P is acting on that. Now, if I want to give the cross section for this particular beam, so let the beam looks like this, which has a length L, and there is going to be certain height to that. So let us define that to be Y. Okay, and there is a cross section, means the third dimension parameter, maybe thickness, which I am not specifying, considering this to be two-dimensional. Now when a load is applied, bending is going to be, or the deflection is going to be maximum at the center. I hope everyone is following. When a load is applied for a simply supported beam, the maximum deflection is going to be at the center and not at the ends where we have a support. So this is the deflection, and when we have a deflection, when you look at this particular diagram, the two-dimensional beam, this is the deflection we are going to get. Now when we have a deflection, then for that particular deflection, if you try to find what is the radius of this particular curvature with respect to the angle of curvature. Okay, we are talking about a beam. Here we have considered the same beam, but it is two-dimensional. Length as well as the height or the width is considered, whereas the thickness is not specified. Only height and length is specified for the same beam. Now when the load is applied, we are going to get deflection, maximum deflection at the center for this particular case. Okay, now when we have a deflection at the center, it is going to bend in this particular direction, which is shown in discontinuous line here. Now the same beam is going to is shown in this particular diagram. Now when we have a bending like this, it is going to give a radius to this curvature. Now the radius, suppose somewhere this point, with respect to this point if we consider, and this is nothing but radius r for this particular bending, then the angle theta is nothing but angle of curvature. Now we are trying to make out a relation between this radius of curvature and angle of curvature. Now if we look at the bending equation or bending moment equation, which you have already studied in mechanics of material, that is nothing but m by I, p by y, e by r, where y is nothing but the deflection here, which is going to take place. Not the same thing, it is different. Here it is thickness, here it is deflection y. Now this is the equation, bending moment equation or a bending equation. Now here if I would like to write this r, nothing but the radius of curvature, that r in terms of movement, then using this equation I can write this to be r equal to E I by m. So please remember, this I am deducing from bending moment equation. Radius of curvature is nothing but E times I divided by m, movement. Now let us recall, m is nothing but the bending moment, I moment of inertia, p is load, y is deflection, E is Young's modulus, r is radius of curvature for the same material. Okay, and using that equation we have deduced r is equal to EI by EM. Now again, if I want to correlate this theta, this radius with respect to length, what it would be? Relation between theta, that is radius, angle of curvature, then r, radius, and then length, L. What it is going to be? Theta is equal to L divided by r, because the angle will be very small compared to the radius of curvature as well as the length. I hope it is clear. Theta we are defining because the theta is going to be very small, then theta is going to be L divided by, that is L is nothing but length of a beam, so theta is going to be L divided by r, because the angle will be very small for the application of a load, so that will be L by r. If we substitute this one into this, so we can rewrite theta is equal to Lm divided by EI. So this is theta, angle of curvature, is equal to Lm divided by EI. Now let us call this one as equation 1. When we have a bending, to define the strain energy, the major component here will not be same as axial loading, whereas if you look at, to define strain energy, we have considered a graph between load and deflection for an axial loading case. Okay, for an axial loading case we have considered load and deflection, and we have deduced considering the area under the curve for strain energy. Here we are going to consider movement and theta. If you plot a graph for this particular case where a simply supported beam and a load is applied from the top leads to certain bending or the deflection of the beam, that will give us the theta, angle of curvature, and the radius of curvature. We got from this particular equation, theta is nothing but the angle due to bending will be proportional to m, EI and L. Now if you look at this equation, L is constant, which is not varying. Young's modulus is a property of a material which is fixed. Cross-sectional area we are not changing, so moment of inertia will not change. So the only variant in this particular equation is movement, which depends on what is the amount of load it is acting and at what location it is acting. Because if the load is applied at the center, the movement, what we can deduce from this particular structure, is different. If the load applied is somewhere else, then relatively the movement at that particular location, some location, it will be different. So theta and m we need to consider. So that's why the graph between m and theta, and then we will get some curve. Maybe the behavior will change again after the elastic limit. So when we consider area under the curve within the elastic limit, and again strain energy will be defined in terms of half times m times theta. That is strain energy due to bending. Please remember, the strain energy due to axial loading was half times P times change in length. This was the equation when it was axially loaded. But when it is bending, we need to consider the moment as well as theta. Now, theta we just deduced here, which is nothing but Lm divided by EI. So, strain energy we can rewrite to be m square L divided by 2 EI. So, this is the strain energy equation for a bending of a beam. I hope this is clear. Let us try to understand. We have a simply supported beam and we have considered only a point load at the center. Okay. Now the beam has certain length L. When this point load is acting at that particular location, which is center, then the deflection is going to be maximum at the center. Okay. And we are going to draw the certain deflection in this discontinuous line. If you look at this particular line, which is a beam in two-dimensional, which has certain width and length, then due to application of a load, it is going to bend, which is in discontinuous lines here. Now, if you try to join these ends, which will connect somewhere here, then we'll get some radius, and with respect to these two lines, we'll get some angle theta. Now, we want to define this theta. To define this theta in terms of this radius and length, we know a relation theta is equal to L by R. Now, from bending moment equation, which is m by I is equal to p by y is equal to E by R, I can rewrite this R in terms of m. Okay. So, R is equal to EI by m. Now, substituting back into this equation, I can write theta in terms of m. Now, once we get this equation, then plotting a graph between m and theta will help us to find what is the strain energy. Substituting the value of theta in this equation will give me this equation, that is m square L divided by 2 EI. Now, just to remember, if it was an axial load, it was P square L divided by 2 EI. When it is a bending, it is m square L divided by 2 EI. That will be the only change. Now, why we have considered moment? Because if the load is different or the load application location is different, then relatively the moment will be different. Okay. Now, using that bending moment diagram, we can deduce for a given beam what is the moment, maximum moment. That we can substitute back into that equation and resolve. Okay. Now, how do we find moment for a given beam? We have studied in a shear force diagram and bending moment diagram. We can deduce that moment from bending moment diagram and substitute into that equation to find strain energy if it is not given in a problem. Now, this is a generic form of bending equation, strain energy equation due to bending. But specifically, if it is varying, if it is not constant, or if it is not allowed to take the maximum bending moment in that equation, then we should specifically deduce the strain energy due to bending. So, that is going to be, now I'll use the same diagram. Yeah, let this be the same, will not change. So, the derivation continues here. Okay, the diagram is same. I am going to consider a small section of that beam. Maybe this is the section I am interested, and relatively this is the section I am interested. Now, I am going to redraw the same section, which is an enlarged form. Okay. Now, which has certain length dx. Let us define this to be dy. Now, this is in normal situation, but when the load is applied, it is going to be like this because it is going to bend. And once it bends, just to distinguish, I am showing a large curvature for this small section. Basically, there will be very small curvature, but still, let us consider R. So here it is going to be very small. No, the R is going to remain the same, R, and this is going to be theta. Let us call for this section d theta, a small section. That is, let us consider d theta later. The angle will also remain the same. We are just considering a small section. Angle will remain the same, whereas the radius will also remain the same. Now, for this particular section, what we have done is, in a given beam, consider a section having length dx from one of its ends at a distance x. Okay. Now, let the width here will be dy and the length of that particular beam is dx. When the load is applied, it results into the radius of curvature r and theta, that is angle of curvature. Now, let us define this theta here. Theta for this particular element is L by R, that is dx by dy, L by R. So, theta is equal to dx by R, L by R case, and also here if I want to write from the strain energy equation d theta, a small elemental angle, elemental radius of curvature, then it is going to be movement for that particular element mx times L, that is nothing but dx here, divided by E times I, that is going to be d theta. Now, for the same structure, a small element, if strain energy has to be deduced, that is elemental strain energy du, so we got an equation m square L divided by 2 EI. We can write again this to be half mx times theta, so which is nothing but mx integrate for the total length of a beam. So, for that element we have defined the theta will be dx by r, which is again d theta, an elemental angle. Now, d theta is going to be mx dx divided by EI. Similarly, strain energy for that element is going to be like this. Now, in this particular case, the bending moment mx is nothing but for this particular element alone. For this particular element, what is the bending moment at that particular location? So, if this was a simply supported structure with a point load, then bending moment diagram, you will get certain load here. Now, if you know the length x, maybe this is the distance x, then at that particular location you will be knowing what is the bending moment. That bending moment you need to substitute in this equation to find that elemental strain energy. Now, what will be the total strain energy? The total strain energy due to bending, considering the element is equal to integral to the length or to the limit 0 to L mx square dx, very sorry, this is supposed to be dx, divided by 2EI. That's a strain energy equation due to bending. I hope this is clear. We have considered a beam, simply supported beam, load is applied, and we have considered a small element to find the total energy in a given beam. Okay, not just considering the maximum moment. By considering an element and its local bending moment, we deduce the local strain energy, and this equation for a given length where movement is a function of the distance what we are considering from one of its support end. Okay, so that is going to be the movement at that particular location, and this is going to be the length of that particular element or that particular location, or to define strain energy. So this is the total strain energy for a given structure. Now let us try to solve a numerical here on bending. A cantilever beam AB, so it's a cantilever beam AB of length L is loaded with a point load W at its free end. So there is a point load W at its free end. Determine strain energy of the beam, second, and also the deflection of a free end. So here we are asked to deduce the strain energy as well as the deflection at its free end due to that load application. So I'll repeat the question here, the numerical. A cantilever beam AB of length L is loaded with a point load W at its free end. Determine strain energy of the beam and the deflection of the free end. So this is a question. Now the diagram will not be given for this particular problem. Based on the question what they are given, I have drawn the diagram here. A cantilever beam of length L, a point load at its free end. We need to deduce strain energy and the deflection at its free end. So when there is a point load on a cantilever beam at its free end, this is the deflection. So here this is the deflection. So we need to deduce that one as well. Now for this particular case, it is very simple. We need to deduce everything at its free end, the movement as well as deflection. So we note the location x. So x here it is going to be the same L. Okay. But still let us consider mx, the movement at that particular location, that is going to be minus W time x. The load is acting downwards, okay, at a distance x. Then strain energy, we just got the equation, that is integral 0 to L mx square times dx divided by 2 times EI. Now substitute the value of mx, that is minus Wx. So it is going to be integral 0 to L W square x square dx divided by 2 EI. Now integrating here with respect to x, so we will get W square divided by 2 EI, then integral of x square x cube divided by 3 for the limit 0 to L. So substituting for the limit 0 to L, we can write here W square L cube divided by 6 EI. 2 times 3 is 6 EI. So this is nothing but strain energy. See, it's very simple. We have used a strain energy equation which we just deduced due to bending. See, this is again a bending. We have not considered simply supported. We have considered a cantilever beam. Now for a cantilever beam, when a load is applied, the equation is going to be the same. It will not be different. Because if you look at the equation, we have got that equation from the graph m and theta. Whereas theta, we defined in terms of m and r. It was a function of m and r. Now, r was a function of L and theta as well. Okay, theta is equal to L by r. That was the relation for r, and also from bending moment equation we could relate m and r. So here we are deducing everything in terms of m. Now, irrespective whether it is cantilever beam or a simply supported beam or a overhanging beam, the moment what we deduce from the bending moment equation or the moment what we deduce from bending moment diagram, that matters here. Okay, so the equation will remain the same, and this is how we solve by substituting for x, that x is L. We get this equation. Now instead, if you just substituted like strain energy, like from the first equation without considering that elemental structure, it will be m square L divided by 2EI. If you write this one, it will be wrong. Why? Because this is a generic form, m square L by EI, whereas here movement is not same throughout the length. If the movement is same throughout the length, then you can write this equation. The movement is varying throughout the length. Movement is maximum here and less is here, whereas deflection is maximum here and less here. So it is varying along the length. It is not same. So we cannot use this equation. We'll be using this equation, and this is the final output from the equation for this particular case for strain energy. Then we need to deduce, we don't want this part. Next, we need to deduce for the deflection. So, work done by load. So, we are just deducing only by the load what we have, the work done. So, it will be half times the load times the deflection, YB. Now, work done is nothing but, just now we have deduced W square L cube divided by 6EI is equal to WY divided by 2. So Y is going to be W L cube divided by 3EI. So this is going to be the deflection at the free end, because the deflection is asked at the same location where load is applied. So the work done at this particular location will be the load what it is applied and the certain deflection at that particular location. If the load was somewhere else and the deflection was asked at this particular location, then this will not be the method to solve. We need to use some other method. Whereas here they have asked the deflection at the same location where load is applied. So when the load is applied, there will be some work done at that location to have that deflection. And once there is deflection, we can correlate this particular process here as work done is equal to half times load W. This is not work, this is load W times Y. Okay, which is nothing but the work done, nothing but the strain energy stored. And this is how we solve. Clear? Okay, let us solve one more numerical. A cantilever beam AB of length L is subjected to a couple. Now in this time we have a couple, a cantilever beam AB of length L is subjected to a couple mu acting at its free end. So I will consider this to be positive. They have not specified mu at its free end. Determine strain energy and the rotation at the free end. So we need to deduce the strain energy and we need to deduce the rotation. Rotation is theta. What is going to be the rotation there? Okay. Now for that, again, first I'll define mx, because the equation here is going to be the same. Mu is equal to mx square dx divided by 2ei for the limit 0 to L. So the equation will remain the same. First I need to deduce what is the mu here, what is the moment here, mx. So mx here, it is considered like this. So the moment is going to be negative of that, mu. Then even though if I consider positive, doesn't matter, because it is mx square. So the equation u will be mu square dx divided by 2ei. So it is going to be mu square L divided by 2ei. If you integrate here, so dx integration will be x for the limit 0 to L, so it will be mu square L divided by 2ei. This will be the strain energy. Now again, let us define the work done here. Work done will be in terms of couple, mu will be mu into theta. They have asked us to find theta, and work done we just deduced, so it will be mu square L divided by 2 times ei is equal to half times mu into theta. So theta is going to be mu L divided by 2, get cancels, ei. So this is an equation for rotation, and this is an equation for strain energy when a couple is considered. Now whether the couple is clockwise or anti-clockwise, it doesn't matter, because anyhow we are going to square in this particular equation, so it will be positive. Okay, so this is a problem related to couple for a cantilever beam. I hope this is clear. Equation is very simple. It is m square L divided by 2ei in generic form, or with a given limit 0 to L, where movement varies with respect to its length, times dx divided by 2ei. So this is the total strain energy equation for a bending. Now movement we deduce. Now in this particular formula problems, we are just deducing the equation. Now suppose if the moment was given, then we need to substitute, or in the previous problem we have considered the load. Now using for that particular load, we need to deduce what is the moment. For that we need to draw bending moment diagram, and from that we need to deduce bending moment, and that we need to substitute for that particular length and deduce further. So for that particular location, what is the strain energy, we can deduce without considering integral sign, and this will give the total strain energy in a given beam. So I hope this is clear. In the next class, we are planning to continue with some numericals and Castigliano theorem. So if you have any doubts, please let me know so that I can cover or clarify those doubts in the next class. I hope this is clear. This is strain energy due to axial loading and strain energy due to bending. I'll stop here. Thank you.